welcome to On Cue. My name's Sean Robertson, manager of the Florissant Civic Center Theater. For those of you not familiar with the show, let me tell you a little bit about what we do here on Cue. We like to take a little time out and inform you about one of our upcoming productions at the Florissant Civic Center Theater. Usually we're joined by a cast member of one of the upcoming shows, and today we'll be discussing the upcoming Alpha Players production of To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird is based off of the late Harper Lee's award-winning 1960 novel, and the story is loosely based on Lee's observations of her family, neighbors, and events that occurred around her hometown of Monroeville, Alabama in 1936, when she was only 10 years old. Many of you may remember the award-winning film from 1962 starring Gregory Peck, and for which he received an Academy Award. And another note about that movie, it was the first on-screen performance by Robert Duvall. Now, joining me today is the star of the Alpha Players production, To Kill a Mockingbird, Carl Bachmeyer, who plays the iconic character of Atticus Finch. Carl, welcome to the show and welcome to On Cue. Let's get to know you a little bit, and let's find out a little bit about To Kill a Mockingbird. Are you from the area, or
well, originally I'm from the Springfield, Illinois area. I grew up in Jacksonville, Illinois, and my wife got work here, and so we moved about almost 3 years now.
Okay.
This is
the
my
land
second
of
show
Lincoln
in the
up there in Springfield,
St. Louis area, but I've done tons in the Springfield area.
Okay. So what kind of other theater background do you have?
Well, I have my master's degree from the University of Illinois.
Oh,
and I've taught theater.
It's a very good. It's a very good theater school.
yes, a huge place. And I've done well. I did a lot 10, 15, 20 years ago, and then kids happened.
Oh, of course.
And things kind of, I would try and get into something like maybe once a year or something just to keep my feet in, do smaller roles like that. But this one is really getting me back in big time.
Yes, that's a big role.
Yeah.
Do you do other things besides performing, or have you been involved, have you directed or?
Well, I was a special ed teacher in Illinois for like 20 years, and I retired from that, and now I'm trying to start up a graphic arts career slowly, getting back into the acting, doing whatever I can, doing the household stuff, taking care of the kids,
yes,
all that stuff.
Are they grown up? Are they out of the house
No, I
yet?
have an 11-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Okay, well,
and so that's
a
I relate to Atticus a lot because of that.
Yes,
I have a boy and a girl, and so.
So you're playing Atticus Finch, who that's prolific character. Have you had a chance to play a role of that magnitude before? Or?
Well, probably the largest that I've done that would be similar to Atticus was I played Abraham Lincoln for several years at State Historic Site. There was a professional company called the Great American People Show.
Okay.
And I started in the box office and worked my way up into playing Lincoln for like 9 years.
That's a couple of steps.
Yeah.
On getting up.
That's
to that
probably
point,
the one that would be closest to what Atticus is like. I've had other big roles, but that would be the one that's closest, I think.
What can you tell us about playing Atticus?
Well, you say you called him the star, and I want to kind of debate that a little bit, because I don't really think of Atticus as the star of the show. It's an ensemble piece.
Yes.
I mean, our production is, the Rep is doing a version of this at the same time, but theirs is the first version that Christopher Sergel wrote, and ours is the revised version.
You're answering one of the questions I already had prepared for you. That's great.
Yeah, ours is the revised version, and ours centers more on the kids.
Okay.
the narration happens with one of the townspeople, Miss Maudie.
And not Scout,
And not
which is
necessarily an adult Scout.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so that's the major difference there, and I think that changes a lot of the perspective because the show is, as I say, very ensemble. It's about a small town, and of course Atticus is central to that because he is the father, but and he is what the kids are focused on. But I think the kids are more the central.
They're the central
theme.
character.
Yeah,
okay.
the central focus.
There are three child characters, I believe. There's Scout, Jim, and Dill. Yeah. Okay. And how is it working with the kids on stage?
I love it. I love it. They are so much fun. They are a lot of fun to work with.
Who's playing those roles?
Well, we have Reese as Scout.
Okay.
And Sean is Jim, and then Matt is Dill.
Okay. Working with kids, sometimes can be, a chore. I imagine with them having such strong roles that they probably have to be some pretty talented kids to be in this show.
They are very talented. Very talented. All three of them. That's just.
Now, in the book, or Harper Lee, she grew up in Monroeville, but like the setting of the show takes place, I guess, is it a made-up town?
Yes, it's a fictionalized town. It's called Macomb.
Macomb?
Okay. But it is based on Monroeville.
Okay. And it takes place in 1930s. I'm not sure the year.
35.
35, okay.
It's one of my lines.
Oh, great, yeah. Some of the major themes involved in To Kill a Mockingbird, deal with some heavy issues, racial inequality, gender and class issues, which I wish we could say didn't exist today, but apparently, they still do. And one of the other central themes of the show relates, in an essence, to the title and the loss of innocence.
Right.
And what else can you tell us about the show and how it relates to some of these things?
Well, I think what you just said, loss of innocence, I think that's a major theme for the whole show, not just the kids. I mean, of course, it's focused on what the kids are experiencing and what they're seeing, but I think it encompasses the whole town, actually, because I think what Harper Lee was trying to do in the book, particularly, and I think Sergel does it a little bit in the play. He has to condense it down, of course, but it's about Southern life. I mean, she's giving a testimony of what Southern life was like.
Yes.
And what it was like to be a Southerner. There's good and there's bad. And this is the way it is. I mean, she's not sugarcoating it. She's just showing you what it was like. And I think in the 30s, we have the beginnings. I mean, the whole inequality, race inequality, and the court trial. It's the very beginning of the civil rights movement. I mean, but it's not the central focus, I think. I don't think it's Harper Lee's central focus. I think that's just something that is, the Southerners want to stay Southerners.
Yes.
They want to stay, they're comfortable in their life.
South
and they're comfortable with their sweet tea and their,
Yes.
And so they don't want to change. And change is being forced upon them.
And Atticus is sort of one of the central characters,
He's one of those
fighting for that.
He's fighting for justice. He's fighting for truth, which I think a lot of people think of Atticus as this white knight, standing up for truth and justice like that. And I agree with that, but I also think that's part of his flaw too. There is as I've been working on the character, I feel like there's one flaw that Atticus has. Everything is right and wrong, and there's no in between. I mean, there's justice and there's truth. And I think, and that gets in his way at the end, because he realizes that, and it's Scout that helps him realize this, actually.
With the stuff with Boo Radley.
With the stuff with Boo Radley, that there is a gray area, and it's okay to have a gray area. But he struggles with that.
We haven't mentioned the character of Tom Robinson, which is also a major portion of this whole show and of the book. What can you tell me about that character and how that is important?
Well, we talked about this the other day in rehearsal. Okay. We were mentioning how Atticus is the brains.
Okay.
But Tom is the heart.
The heart.
Of the show. I mean and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. It on paper it seems to be a small role, but it is so essential to the whole thing. What happens in that courtroom scene and how he reacts to that scene. We were working with Greg, the actor, because there's a different mindset from what you think today as to what it was in the 1930s.
Okay.
And we had to work on this idea that you might feel very angry and you might want to stand up and choke people, but you've got 100 people surrounding you with guns pointed at you.
Okay.
And they're going to kill you.
Yeah. There's a lot of fear in that character also.
Yeah. And you have to learn how, you have to deal with that fear.
I know in the movie there's a scene with Atticus and there's a rabid dog.
Yes.
Is that in the play also?
That's in the play. That's in the play.
I think that really, sort of shows, a lot about Atticus. There's a lot of stuff with the son, Jem, wanting to have a rifle or a gun and where he's sort of adamant that, he doesn't want him to have it. But
I think
all
that's
of a
the
sudden,
first step that Jem learns, that his dad is something different.
Yeah, more than what he thinks he is.
Yeah, because Jem wants a dad who will go out, play football with him, be on play on the Methodist team.
Yes.
Do all this stuff, and Atticus doesn't want to have anything to do with that. He doesn't even want to talk about guns. I mean, there's one line where he mentions his Uncle Jack, and that's important in the book, and it's only mentioned once. I wish there was more about the uncle.
I'm not familiar. It's been too long removed.
The uncle is really the person that Jem would like to be. He's the one. In the book, he's the town doctor, I believe, and he is the one that goes hunting. He does all the athletic stuff.
Okay.
He's what Jem would love his dad to be.
He wants to put that on Atticus.
But no, his dad's not that way.
Huh. I know this is something that I seem to remember hearing about. That just a little tidbit of information about To Kill a Mockingbird is that the character of Dill is supposedly modeled off of Harper Lee's longtime friend Truman Capote.
Yes.
I don't know if you know if that's true. I don't know if that is true, but I believe that's what I've heard.
Capote said it was.
Okay.
Now, whether you want to believe Capote, because sometimes he twisted the truth a little bit too, but he liked to say that, yes, she wrote about him.
All right. And that's a very unique little character and kind of a fun little role for a kid. Just a couple other notes on To Kill a Mockingbird and the Alpha Players production. It is being directed by Sharon Kotner, and there are a couple of assistant directors, Tom Stone, who's also the stage manager, and Alicia Harvey and Carla Erickson are also assisting in directing. Sharon Kotner, I believe, is doing the set design and costume design. That's quite a lot of work right there. Lighting design by Jeff Pruitt, whom I believe also worked on the Alpha productions of 1776, and I believe there's some other local performers that are often grace the stage here in Florissant. Regulars like Bob Veach and Pam Geppert and Archie Coleman, who all have roles in the show. And if I didn't mention your name, I apologize. Before we end the show today, and I'm sure there's probably a lot more things we should have talked about, but if you're not familiar with To Kill a Mockingbird, come out and see this show. The Alpha Players are dedicated to putting on professional quality productions right here in our backyard in our community of Florissant. And they take time off of work, away from their families, in order to present these shows to you. To Kill a Mockingbird opens on March 10th at the Gary R. Gatiss Auditorium at the Florissant Civic Center, and it has performances on March 10th and 11th at 7:30 p.m., March 17th and 18th at 7:30 p.m., and closes with a Sunday matinee on March 19th at 2 p.m. Tickets are $18 for adults, $16 for seniors and students, and $10 for children 12 and under. For tickets, please call our box office at area code 314-921-5678, or check us out online at www.florissantmo.com. And now, stay tuned for the calendar section. Welcome back. Coming up in March, the Florissant Fine Arts Council presents Churchill, starring Andrew Edlund, March 12th at 2 p.m. As Churchill reviews his life, filled with his history-changing events and people, Andrew Edlund's powerful performance includes iconic speeches, private revelations, witty stories, and brilliant commentary. Also in March, the Alpha Players will present To Kill a Mockingbird, March 10th at 7:30 p.m., March 11th, March 17th, and 18th at 7:30 p.m., and they close on a Sunday matinee on March 19th at 2 p.m. It has been more than half a century since To Kill a Mockingbird was first published, but Harper Lee's story of racial tension and childhood interrupted by the ugly confusions of the adult world has not lost its power to captivate. It is 1935, and Scout, a young girl living in a tired old town of Macomb, Alabama, is about to experience a summer that will affect the rest of her life. Scout lives with her brother Jim, their widowed father Atticus, a lawyer, and their housekeeper Calpurnia. Atticus has been appointed to defend Tom Robinson, a black man who has been accused of assaulting a young white woman. Through courage and compassion, Atticus seeks justice for Tom, while his feisty daughter's eyes are open to the cold-hearted adult side of her community. This is a story as moving and as magical as anyone could hope to find. You're not going to want to miss To Kill a Mockingbird. In April, the Hawthorne Players will present Love Letters. Andy and Melissa, both born to wealth and position, are childhood friends, whose lifelong correspondence begins with birthday party thank you notes and summer camp postcards. They continue to exchange letters through the boarding schools and college years, and Andy's last letter, written to Melissa's mother, makes it eloquently clear how much they really meant to each other. Physically apart, but perhaps spiritually as close as only true lovers can be. That show runs March 31st, April 1st, April 7th and 8th at 7:30 p.m., and April 2nd and 9th at 2 p.m. They're doing two Sunday matinees with Love Letters. Coming up in April, the Florissant Fine Arts Council will present Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus live. April 2nd at 7 p.m. The one-man fusion of theater and stand-up is based on New York Times #1 best-selling book of the last decade by John Gray. Moving swiftly through a series of vignettes, the show covers everything from dating to marriage to the bedroom. Sexy and fast-paced, this show is definitely for adults. It is a great recipe for a night out, and a little storytelling blended with some comedy and a dash of sage wisdom from the book. That show is April 2nd at 7 p.m. And then coming up in May, we have the Alpha Players production of Harvey, a classic comedy for the whole family to enjoy. Elwood P. Dowd is a polite and friendly man with a very strange best friend, a 6.5-foot tall rabbit named Harvey. Elwood's sister, Veda, is concerned that Elwood's behavior will hamper her social life. So she decides to have Elwood committed to a nearby sanatorium. However, when she becomes hysterical while trying to explain her brother's condition to the sanatorium staff, she ends up being committed instead. Elwood leaves the sanatorium grounds unbothered, turning the town upside down as everyone goes on the lookout for the mild-mannered hero and his invisible rabbit. The Pulitzer Prize-winning script is one of the most loved of American theater. Come and see why. That show runs May 19th and 20th, May 26th and 27th, all at 7:30 p.m., and May 28th at 2 p.m. Admission is $18 for adults, $16 for students and seniors, and $10 for children 12 and under. For tickets, please call area code 314-921-5678 or visit us online at www.florissantmo.com. Thanks for watching On Cue. My name's Sean Robertson. Come out and see a show at the Florissant Civic Center Theater.